Hi, this is Rick Brandenburg for Turf Rugs and Rock and Roll. And just the other day, someone asked me an interesting question, and they said, do you think, due to all the negative publicity, that there's a chance certain distributors or dealers may stop selling glyphosate or Roundup? And that's interesting because just a couple of days earlier than that, I had heard from a relatively reliable source that had already happened. One distributor was going to discontinue selling it because their insurance company had basically said that we don't want you to. And many of you on the other side of this camera probably know more of the details and the factual part than I do. But the answer to that question, do I think that all the negative press and publicity and social media could cause people to stop selling glyphosate or Roundup, and we take one of the least toxic, the most effective, and one of the cheapest products, and it ends up being replaced with something that perhaps costs more, perhaps isn't as effective, and perhaps is a little bit higher toxicity? Yes, I certainly think that could happen. So what am I basing that answer on? Well, let's just stop and think back just a year or two ago, when a lot of the big box stores stopped selling trees and shrubs and plants that had been treated with neonicotinoids because of the scare about killing off bees. So that certainly stopped that one in its tracks. And there's another story that goes back, for those of you who are older, back in the late 1980s, there was a product called Alar. Alar was used in apple orchards because it helped prolong the life of the apple while it was still on the tree. And what it essentially did when farmers would use it, it would allow you to have a single mature crop, and basically it allowed them to pick the whole tree at the same time, which was a huge cost-saving factor. So in 1989, the National Resource Defense Council, the NRDC, which is a very well-funded organization, decided they were going to take the use of Alar to task because they thought it represented unreasonable risk to children in their apple juice and things like that. So they really pushed hard on it, and they produced studies that indicated that the risk of cancer from eating apples that had been treated with Alar was 50 in 1 million chances of people consuming. Another study showed 5 in a million. Anyway, the risk was above what we normally accept of 1 in a million. So this became a big deal. They funded, they got someone, an actress named Meryl Streep, to become a spokesperson for it. They got 60 Minutes to have a show that really beat up on the product Alar. And Meryl Streep went around the country, and I haven't watched a Meryl Streep movie since, even the one she did with Clint Eastwood, because it was really this huge media approach, long before Facebook and things like that, that had a huge negative impact, and eventually Alar was eliminated from apple production. Now, if you go back and try to look at all the videos and all the literature and everything that was written about it, there's some people that say this was the worst case of the media getting rid of a very valuable product and hurting farmers. And then you can also find some other articles and indications that perhaps it wasn't that bad. We do know that in 1989 it did negatively impact apple farmers in tens of millions of dollars. We know that they have recovered. We know that other products and other ways of approaching it are done. But this was a huge media campaign that completely eliminated Alar from apple production. Was it something that should have been eliminated? I think maybe the verdict is still out on that. I'm not going to say one way or the other. But we do know it was eliminated, and we know during a short period of time, apples, say from Romania, or apple juice from Romania came in, and who knows what that had been treated like, and kids were given that product. So it became a real negative press story. Still, a lot of groups refer back to it all the time, that this is how you do business. You use media to get rid of products that have a potential risk. But the bottom line is, do I think that social media and all the negative press could have negative impacts on the sales, distribution, and marketing of Roundup or glyphosate? You better believe it. That's the power of the media today, and it's not going anywhere soon. Hope that helps. Look forward to talking with you again soon.